Hi everyone, my name is Mark Moikins from Big Mountain Studio, and I'm here to help you ascend that big mountain of development knowledge. So subscribe and click that bell icon below so you can get notified when I come out with new videos. Now in this video, we're going to be talking about customizing TableView cells. Currently, we're using a default cell style and populating one of our values to the text label, and that's over there on the left. What we want is over on the right. We want to create this little card, give it a shadow. We're going to have an UI image on there and a couple of labels with our own font style. So let's build it. We're going to get right into building this because we've already covered customizing cell styles before. So there's not a lot of setup that we have to do to get you started on this. So we're just going to jump right into Xcode and get building. Okay, we're in Xcode. We don't have any prototype cells set up to show our main data. Right now, we only have a prototype cell set up for our section header. And that's those two labels you see there. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another prototype cell and design that out. And that's what we're going to use for our custom cell, which will basically display activities for your itinerary. So right now, we're creating this cell programmatically. But what we're going to do now is we're going to create it on the storyboard. So how do you add a new prototype cell? Well, you just come over to this property over here under Attributes Inspector, and you just increase it to number 2. And by default, what it does is it copies the previous one, which is kind of strange. I wish it would just create a blank one for you. So we're going to go in here. We're going to go to this cell right here. And everything that's in your content view, I'm just going to delete. There. So by default, this is what comes with a prototype cell. It's just your cell and your content view. Now it looks like here, it even copied over the identifier. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that to just cell. All right, that should do it. And now we can just start populating this content view to look the way we want. The first thing I think I'm going to do is make it a little bit bigger. So let's just make that bigger. And I'm going to add a UI view. Get that on there. And let's resize it. I'm going to change the color here. And I'm going to use one of our named colors. In our mockup, we're using this color, this accent color. So that's the color I'm going to use. And let's see. I think we'll start with that size. We might need a little bit bigger. So let's go a little bit bigger. So I just select my cell and I grab this right here and I pull it down. Let me see. Let's go with 100. Yeah. And then with our UI view, this is kind of like our card. I'm just going to extend it to the margins. So those should all be 0. Yeah, they are. So let's get those situated. All right. And what I want to do with this card too is I want to give it rounded corners and a shadow. And that's something that I did with our other table view. Like if we look at our trips view controller here, I did it in the cell itself. Yeah, here we go, card view. So I called it card view, and I just called this function, which is an extension function, which just adds a shadow and rounded corners. So we're going to do the same thing for our table view cell. Now, the first thing I need is a UI table view cell class. So I can create my outlets and then initialize them and format them the way I want. So let's do that. Let's go in here and we're going to add a new file. UI table view cell. And I'll just call this, I think I'll just call it, what is it, days? Or no, it's activities. Activity table view cell. Okay, so we want to create some outlets and we want to assign this table view cell class to our table view cell that we just created, which is right here. So let's go into the class. And see, it even copied over the custom class. That's why I wish when it created new prototype cells, it just created a new one from scratch. We're going to set it to activity view cell like that. Now what I could have done, if I wanted to add a new prototype cell, I could just have added it from here. Table view cell. See, I could just grab it here and I could have just dragged it onto my table view cell. I probably should have done that to begin with. I don't know why I didn't think of it. Normally I just come up to that prototype property and just increase it. Okay, so we need to create a prototype for this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold down Option and I'm going to click on our new activity table view cell. And then I'm just going to drag this over and I'll call it card view. Okay, and in the initialization section here, so here I'm just going to call that what was it, like shadow? I know I'm adding a shadow to it. There it is. Add shadow and rounded corners. So I'm just going to call that. Okay, now the next thing I want to do is I want to get some data in here just to make sure that it's working right. I don't need this set selected. So I'm going to create a function called setup. And if you watch my other videos, you know I do this with all my cells. So setup. And what I'm going to pass in here is I want to pass in the model. So we have a model set up. And you might remember that from 2 videos ago, I think it was. You know, we had this model right here, activity model. So I'm going to pass in that model. Activity model right there. And like I said in the previous video, I like to pass in the model because if the model changes, I don't have to change my parameters. And it's also a good way to group up all your parameters into one object and pass them all at once. Okay, there's nothing I need to take out of the model for now in Populate. I don't have any labels or anything. But let's actually do it now. Let's add one label. Oops, I am in the code view, so that's why it's showing that one. I need to click on the interface builder before I bring up my object library. Oh, okay. So I'll add a label, and let's make that white, just so we can see it. All right, and let's create an outlet for it. I think I have a title property in my model. Let's just take a look at it real quick. Title, yeah, we have title and subtitle. That's what I'm going to be showing. Okay, let's go back. All right, great. And then I'm going to populate that title label. Okay, we have enough on there to get started, to be able to see some data, and that's what I really want to do. I just want to make sure that we can dequeue this cell and populate some data in it before I continue too far. I forgot to delete that. Let's delete those comments there. That's for the section header from the last video. And here is the old code. So I'm dequeuing a reusable cell. We did call it cell for the identifier, but now what we want to do is after we get that cell, we can just delete. Oh, actually, you know what? Let me do this. I'm going to keep this part because we want to get the activity model because we're going to pass that in to our function, right? Our setup function. So let me copy that. And I'll just say var model equals, and then put that there. Now, what I want to do is just delete all of this and get rid of it. And I want to call cell.setup. But you notice, what did I forget to do? It doesn't know where our setup function is because it doesn't know that this cell that we're dequeuing is actually an activity table view cell. So we have to tell it that. So we're going to say as activity table view cell. Okay, now it should recognize this function here. There it is. And we're going to pass in our model. All right, that should be enough to get us started. So let's run that and see what it looks like. Oops, we had some problems first. Okay, we're going to force unwrap that model. And then for this cell, we already force unwrapped it, so we don't need to do it again. Okay, so let's run that and see what we get. We should at least be seeing the title in all of the cells. Okay, click on trip to Bali, and we don't get anything. Okay, we could be getting it, but it just could be very, very thin and narrow here. I don't. So let's do this. Sometimes this happens if you don't have enough constraints, and it just gives you a very thin row. So let's make sure we have enough constraints here. I think what I need to add is a height constraint to this. So let's add a height constraint, see if that fixes it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, good. It just didn't know to, push it, so it was higher. All right, that looks good. We have all of our titles showing, and we have the nice rounded corners, the shadow going. Now, there's a couple things, of course, we need to do. So we need to get rid of that background and, make it like the section header. And we probably want to get rid of these little lines in between. So let's keep working on it. Okay, we have this cell, and let's look at the properties. Let me stop this here. Let's look at the properties here, and we're going to change the background to clear, though I don't think it's this property that's actually doing it. let's just test it out, just to make sure. Maybe it is. Sometimes it's either the cell or the content view that you have to change. So let me just change both of them here. Clear. And run it. See if that gets rid of it. Oh, before I do that though, let's go to our table view. And remember that separator that was showing? Let's get rid of those. Okay, now let's see what it looks like. Oh, good. All right, there we go. Okay, so that looks good. We got rid of the separators. Now let's add the UI image view and the other label. Okay, I'm going to select that label, hold down Option, and then I'm going to select it and copy it. This is going to be our subtitle. Then I know we need a UI image view too, right? That's going to go in there somewhere. Let's resize this. Okay, and I'll just make it square, 62 by 62. That looks good. Okay, let's add some constraints to those guys. I'll make this. No, I won't set that one for now. But I will set the height and width. Yeah, there's a couple of ways I can do this. I do want to set it this way. Yeah, I'm going to set it this way. And it's in preparation for a video that might come much later on. So I don't know, but this will work. We'll just set the top and bottom constraint. Yeah, this is fine. I don't think I'll need this. I do need something for the width though. So I'll just set the width. And then for the labels, let's see. Let's look at our mock-up again. Okay, it's just one right over the other. It's not even, I don't even know if it's even that center. It looks like there's more space under here. So I'm going to kind of space them out more evenly. And I think what I'll do is, I think I'll just put them in a stack view. Yeah. And then let's set some constraints there. Now I'm going to use 8 because that's what I had on the image view over there. And I think maybe just 20 is fine. And over here, 8. Oops. There. Okay. And let's see, it's giving us a problem. Usually, that's usually because of one of the properties on the stack view. So let's just take a look here. Fill is fine. Just distribution, let's fill equally. Yeah, it gets rid of that error. And I usually like just the regular spacing, the standard value, which I believe is 8. And these sizes are going to be different. So let's take a look again. Now, maybe they're the same. I think it's 15 and 15. Yeah, let's start with 15, see how that looks. Okay, so we have all of our controls on there. Let's create some outlets. I'm going to hold down Option again. I'm going to click on Activity Table View Cell. And then I just need an outlet for this image view. Put it right here. I'll just call it image view. And this will be our subtitle label. Oh, hold on. You see this problem that's giving me right here. It can't use it because it's reserved. Like UI table view cells already have an image view built in, but that I hardly ever use. So let's get rid of that and let's do it over again. Give it a different name. Actually, I want to do this. Let's go into our activity model. What do I call it here? It's going to be an image that represents our activity type. So I'll just call it activity image view. Now there's already one on here, so I need to delete that. Okay, so we'll add it again. There we go. And then we want to create an outlet for this one. And that is our subtitle. Awesome. And then we'll set them up. So for our image view, here's the idea that I have. Activity image view dot image. And it's going to be, what I'll do is I'll create a function. Get activity image view. And I'm going to pass in the model. And I want to pass in the our activity type, which is an enum. Let's just do this. Let's add a parameter label there called type. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create this function here. And it's going to figure out which image I'm going to assign to this UI image view. So here's how it's going to work. If you watched my previous videos, I explained it a little bit. But I have images up here in our assets. Okay, so if I come into assets right here and I expand this activity type, there's these different icons that I want to show depending on the activity type. So if a person is staying at a hotel or they have reservations that they're adding as their activity in their itinerary, I'm going to show this icon. If they're going to a restaurant or they have reservations, they want to put it on their itinerary to remind themselves what they're going to do, then it'll show this icon. Same with flight. Excursions, that's just kind of like do any kind of activity that you don't have a name for. And then cars, if you're renting a car or doing something like that, or you need transportation, this will represent that. So I have all my activities. So what I want to do is I want to look at my activity type and return one of these icons, one of these images. So that's what this function is going to do. And it's the activity type that I'm passing in. Okay. And probably the best way to do that is like with a switch, right? So we'll use a switch and it'll be on the value type that I pass in. I wish this editor had your switches have to be exhaustive, meaning however many activity types that you have to have a case for each one. Or you can have a couple of them, but you have to have default. So basically, there's always some code or some case statement or default that can handle whatever you're doing the switch on. And in some development environments, what they do is they'll actually fill them all in for you. And I don't think this will do it. Oh yeah, maybe it will. Okay, so let's add the missing cases. I can't remember. I work in different development environments, so I can't remember which ones do which. So let's click fix. This is perfect. This is exactly what I wanted. All right, awesome. Okay, so here, if it's auto, I'm just going to return. Yeah, you have to do image literal. Where's my image literal? I don't think image literal is coming up because I'm not actually returning anything. I forgot to write that up here. We want to return a UI image. All right, let's see if that'll work. Image literal. Oh, why can't I get my image literal to come up? There it is right there, image literal. Wow, I don't know why that didn't come up before. I'm going to try something else. Okay, let's go in here. We'll pick car. Let me try this. Ah, that seems to work. No, cannot initialize. All right, let's do this. Let's get rid of this. And I'm just going to copy this. It's kind of like a workaround. It should allow you to just choose whatever you want. It should have allowed me to use an image literal, but I don't know why it didn't. So this is just a workaround, I guess. Okay, so for excursion, it's this one right here. For flight, it's the airplane. Food. No, that's the hotel. This one. And hotel is this one. All right, good. So that should take care of that. Now we want to populate the subtitle. Okay. All right, let's run it and see how that goes. I do have my attention on one thing, though. This icon, you notice it's black. So I think what's going to happen is when we show it, it's going to show as black. And I'll show you a way that we can get around that, if it does, which I'm pretty sure it will. There's no reason why it shouldn't show as black. But I will show you how to turn it white. All right, that's good. What's happening, you're seeing it as orange, which I wasn't expecting either. And the reason why you're seeing it as orange is because, let's go into our assets and let me show you something. Let's look at the properties. It's this reason right here. See where it says render as template image? When you have an image that is set to render as template image, what iOS is going to do, it's going to take any part of the image that's opaque, meaning it's not partially see-through or transparent. It's going to take those opaque parts and it's going to turn it to the color of your tint. Now, remember we set the tint of this storyboard to our app's tint color. So if we come here, we look at tint, we set a global tint. This is a bug. I don't know why, but you see the word tint and it doesn't correctly show the color. But if I select it again, you'll see the color. Again, I think that's a bug. You know, it shows that black and white image, but it should show this orangish, reddish orange color. So that's our global tint, meaning anything on this storyboard will adopt this global tint, will adopt this tint color instead of the default blue color, right? So this image doesn't adopt this tint color. I'm going to come into its properties and I'm going to change its color right here. So I'm going to change it to white. Its tint color to white, and then it'll make the image white. There we go. Okay, so that looks good. I think what I'm going to do, it does look a little bit big, so I'm going to size it down a little bit. You know, I want to make this spacing around the image and between the image and the text more uniform. So let's do that. Let's make it a little bit smaller. And I think maybe the best way to go into it is just changing the values here. Let's do a 12. There we go. And then with this one right here, oops. If you hover over your constraint until it highlights like this, then you can double click it and we can just change that to 12. And that should give it a more uniform size. But then if we change it to 12, now it's not perfectly square. So let's look at our width here. So 62. You know what? I think I'm going to change my mind because the size can change, but instead of making like hard coding the width, what I'm going to do is I want to give it an aspect ratio of 1:1. So no matter what the height is, it'll make the width the same. And you just see that it gives it a default ratio here. I can just edit that. And I'm going to change it to 1:1. So basically it gives it a matching height to a matching width. All right, that'll work. Now on these guys, I kind of want to I'm going to change the constraints on this one too, because now that we changed this to 12, I want to make the top and bottom constraint to 12 as well. So let's go in here. Let's grab that stack view and we'll change this to 12. No, that's the trailing space. We don't care about that. There we go. Bottom, make that 12. And the top, make that 12. All right, there we go. Okay, that should handle the spacing. Now what I want to do is I want to change the font using our theme. So in our last video, we changed the theme around a little bit. Where is it? Here we go. We added a couple of new fonts here, regular and bold. In our mockup, where it says from SLC, that's actually a demi-bold. The reason why I did that is because I wanted the section header to stick out more than the data that's on the cells. So for the section header title where it says November 14th, that is a bold, and then I want to use a demi-bold below that. It's a little bit less bold. And I don't have that property set up yet, so we need to create that. See, we have bold here, and then I want to create a demi-bold. So what I'll do is just highlight that line, copy, paste, and this will be demi-bold. What do I do? Call it fame? Body font, fame. All right, I got to change that because that's not what it should be. It should be name. Well, I didn't even notice that when I did that. I just said fame again. I didn't even notice that when I created that last video. So let's handle this. Let's refactor. Luckily, we get this handy rename here, and it's going to find the usages. And let's change that to name. Okay, so we have name, demi-bold. And it's probably going to be demi-bold here, but I'm not certain. So remember like the last video, what I did? I went into font book, and you just have to look it up. Editor next. Here we go. And we want not the demi-bold italic, demi-bold. All right, let me just copy this, just make sure it's correct. And replace this. There. I think I had it right, but just to make sure. Okay, good. So we have that theme. Now we just come back into our cell, and where we initialize it, this is where I'm going to set the font. So title, we use the demi-bold, and subtitle, we use the regular. Let's try 15. If we don't like it, we can just bump it up. And I think I probably will bump them up. Okay, the spacing looks a lot better. And yeah, there's plenty of room here. We can increase that. I think I'll just make them both 17. There we go. It's looking beautiful. All right. So there you go, guys. You learned how to customize TableView cells. And again, what we did was we created a class for it, a TableView cell class. And we just used a prototype cell. We added some controls, created outlets for them, customized those controls, and populated it with our data. Okay, thanks for watching. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and consider sharing it. Subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss when the next video comes out. And if you want to help out my channel, you can provide a translation in your native language just for the title and description. And then that way it helps other people who speak your language also find the videos. All right, thanks guys.